Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Shipyards. I'm Commander Exorcist. I'm a huge fan of trams and track-based vehicles in Space Engineers, and I've searched high and low for a comprehensive tutorial for building setups similar to the inter-asteroid transport in the Sparks of the Future DLC. It's time to fix that little problem. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a single-track suspended tram in 0G using the same design from Sparks of the Future. But before we get started, if you enjoy the content I create on this channel, then be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure notifications are turned on so that you don't miss any of my Space Engineers content. Let's get building. Okay, so for this tutorial, we are going to build a 0G suspended tram system. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, the suspension system that drives this tram is 100% stolen, ripped off, shamelessly stolen and ripped off from the Sparks of the Future DLC in Space Engineers. So if you've seen that transit system, then you know what we're going to build. So I'm going to show you how to build the mount and the track system so that you can build your own custom tram system for your stations. Now, I'm showing this in 0G, but the same principles apply to ground installation. So if you're going to build this same setup on the ground, you just have to take in a few things like additional gravity and you can make it work. So that's actually where I built it the first time that I managed to get it to work. So today, you're going to see down on the bottom in the toolbar, that is everything that we need to build this tram. So we're using light armor, we're using blast doors, grate, we've got the railing, we've got some windows, wheels, and a battery to power the thing. And I messed up. I'll actually step forward. We're going to need a control seat, but I didn't put that on there. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that your track is built first. And the track for this tram system is blast door. And you want to make sure that the track is vertical. So horizontal, vertical. And in this case, I'm going to build about 60 of these so that I can give my tram a little bit of room to move. I'm also going to build at the very end because we're doing a tutorial and I don't want to fly off into space. I'm going to build a little cross here of light armor blocks while I'm testing so that my tram doesn't run off the track. All right. And so what you want to do is you're going to build your tram on the track. So we're going to use the track as a mounting point to get started. Now you can build it against the building. I could start here and build my train this way. Actually, what I am going to do is I'm going to go over here just a little bit and we're going to build the train here. And so you want to start off with 5 blocks, 1 down. So you're building 10 blocks, 2 rows of them. You want to come out here and build 2 flanges. So 1 on the side here, 1 on the side here, 5 blocks. And then you want to build 3 on top of this, all right, still attached to the track. Now, I'm not using the symmetry mode because I want to show you guys both sides of this construction. Now, once you have this basic setup here, this top part right here is going to be this little section, these 3. That's going to be your main connection to the track. Now, we want to go over here, and you want to add the wheels. Now, you got to scroll through, and you want to find the short wheel suspension 1 by 1. Now, you're going to see, when you look at the wheel suspension here, I'm just going to turn it, so you've got this curved area, and then you've got this kind of gray with the additional flange on it. You want to make sure that gray is on the inside, and that will bring your wheel to its appropriate place. Now, you're going to play, and so for keeping up with the wheel designations, you want to make sure you're putting them on the same side in order. So we got both of these are on. And then we'll come over here and we'll add these. All right. So we have kind of our basic setup here. The wheels are going to grip the track and eventually pull the tram system up and down. Next thing you want to do is you want to grab some of this catwalk. And you want to make sure not to attach it to the track, but you want to attach it to these 3 blocks. Okay. So a little bit of maneuvering. You want to make them vertical, and you want to do this on both sides, pretty much mirroring everything you're doing. So you want to make sure, again, on these blocks, not on the track, and there you go. And Then we're going to switch to our railing. And we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to make sure that the railing goes on top of the catwalk grates, not on the track. And you should have a setup that looks similar to this. So if you point your reticle over here, it'll be red. And when you turn it the correct way, it'll go green. And then you can just add your blocks there, okay? And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to switch back to blast doors. This time we're going to go horizontal, and you're going to attach a single blast door block square to the railing. All right. I don't know if it'll attach to the track. I haven't really tried, but you want to switch that. Make sure that it attaches to the railing. Scroll through for your blast door edge, and then you're going to put a blast door edge on each side. And that is all that's needed to actually build the mount for this thing. Okay, so while I have not constructed the car itself, there's a couple of things that you can do. I'm going to show you one thing. If you're experimenting with this, and I'm going to say there's a lot of experimentation that can be done. I'm going to put little flanges here just so it's balanced, and then we're going to go in and we're going to grab a control seat, and I'm going to throw a control seat here on the side so that we can experiment with it. Now, once we have a control seat, you want to go over here and very carefully, you want to remove this first row of blocks. Okay. And you want to go back here. And for me, I like to put my batteries inside of here. So, battery inside of there. You hear her start it up. Although in real life you wouldn't hear the sound in space, but here we go. All right. And so what we're going to do at this point is I'm going to set the wheels before I start building anything else on the trams. We're going to fly over here, and we're going to go into our control panel. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky, and you're going to have to kind of know your tram. You may have to experiment with it. So you want to pick two of the wheels. Actually, let's do all of the settings first. So we want to turn off steering. Propulsion's fine. Brakes are fine. Everything else here is fine. You want to change your power to approximately 30%. Your strength to 30%. And the reason I put the control seat where it's at is because when I adjust the height offset, I can see where the wheels are moving. So you want to move the wheels to the point where they kind of stop moving. So in this case, it's about 65 centimeters off. And friction is fine at 50. You can mess with it a little bit depending on the size of your tram and whether you get a responsiveness out of it. But everything else should be left alone for your basic setup. So here are your power settings. Power 30, strength 30. Try to keep these even. So if you adjust your strength down, adjust your power down as well so that it maintains a balance across your tram system. Now you want to select, and I'm going to do this start. I'm going to show you how this may go wrong, and we can adjust it later. But select the first two wheels, scroll down, and invert propulsion. And what that will do is that's going to allow you to move forward because the wheels need to be able to turn in a different direction on the other side of the track. All right? And in theory, we should be able to move, and we can move. So there we go. We're not going to move very far. We're not going to move very far because I don't want to damage anything, because that is one of the things I want to mention very specifically is that this configuration can get damaged very easily. So you want to be very careful with it. But this is the basic configuration for the tram support. All right. And one thing I recommend is as you move it, you want to make sure you've equipped a welder. Come around and make sure that you're regularly checking these components, because sometimes these components can get damaged if your weight and balance is off. So if you're experiencing consistent damage, you have a couple of options. One is you can go into the administration settings and you can go to admin tools and you can turn off damage. And so that will pretty much guarantee that your tram will never get damaged. Or you can just simply work with it like an actual engineer and figure out and make sure that your weight and balance is all right. Okay, but this is the basic design. This is it. It is done, and it will probably tear itself apart because it's so light. So we're going to add some weight to it. We're actually going to build a car around it, but this is how you do it. So, and you can see the wheels are there. They're gripping, and let me go in. Let's just actually run it a little bit. So I'm going to zoom out here and show you, and there you go. So you're going to get these sparks as you move it. Don't worry about the sparks. They're just there. They are the sparks of the future. And they're not going to, it doesn't necessarily mean that your tram is taking damage. What it means is that Clang is there and keeping you honest. So we're going to take this away. I'm going to remove all of this. I'm going to remove this one. Now we're going to build, I'm just going to build a basic tram car around this. And so as you build it, you want to pay attention to things like your wheel power. So if you build a massive tram, you may have to increase your wheel power. It's also possible that if you build something small, if you build one of these that has a different wheel configuration or something, you can possibly dial down your wheel power. Just from what I have found after building this particular configuration, you will have 30% on both the power and the strength is acceptable. All right. And so once we have the flange edges built here, we can remove the underside, and now we have the basic setup for our tram system. All right, and so we're going to switch. We're going to put some windows in this thing, and I'm not doing anything. There's nothing here. It's too complicated for anyone who's played Space Engineers for a while. This is just basic stuff. You can make fun of my rotational errors if you'd like. I have no problem with that. I'm not trying to make anything look too great. We're just showing you how things work. So put these windows there. I forgot to put the door. Thought I had everything put together, but apparently not. All right. So there's one window. There's one side. Ooh. Two sides. Coming along nicely. All right. So let's put the edges on. Like that. And so you can build pretty much the tram of your dreams once you have the suspension part put together. You know, this is just kind of a basic design based off of what they had in the Sparks of the Future. So you want to switch to the light armor half slope, and you'll need the corners here to make those work. I love how the controls change based on your perspective. So let's see here. There we go. Oops. There. And there. So, and then we're going to carve us out a doorway. And personally, I prefer this door for my tram. Okay, and here we are. Welcome aboard our tram system. Okay, I'm going to put that control seat here. There we go. And we are good to go. You can hear her fire up. And here, my friends, is the tram system. I'm going to make it stand out a little bit. There we go. So that you can actually see. Everything in yellow is the part that we built for this this setup. Well, let's take it for a little bit of a ride and see if I get made a fool of with my tram system falling apart. So I'm going to switch to our external camera here. And here we go. And there we go. We have a functional tram system. Now, key with these tram systems is you want to make sure that you don't brake too hard. I recommend not using the parking brake. but you want to test it by running it back and forth, kind of as slow as you can, because you're making sure that Clang doesn't come back with a vengeance and destroy the thing. So occasionally you can stop, and then once you've come to a stop, then you can put on your parking brake, because if you put on your parking brake while you're moving, you run the risk of putting it in a bad position where it can actually get damaged. So I'm taking a look here with my welder to make sure that I didn't incur any damage in my movement. There's a little bit. So this is just one of those things where you have to do this a couple of times. And once you've run it up and down the track a couple of times, it'll balance itself out and you will stop getting damaged. But that's why I say you want to make sure that you're not going too fast, or you can just blow the thing up. So let's take it and let's run it back one more time. Let's parking brake off. There we go. Looking good. Come to a stop. Roll back. So, normally when I build trams, which like I said in the intro, I'm a big fan of trains in this game. I run them a lot for testing before I do any type of automation or anything of the like to make sure I'm not taking damage, because it can take a couple of times of running it up and down the track to make sure that everything's good. The batteries, I'm checking them because they run up against the track here. So we're going to go check it again. And we are not. What do we got here? So we took a little bit there, but not too bad. And it can take a couple of times to do this, but otherwise we should be good. Once you'll get to a point where you can feel it, and the train is just smooth up and down the track there. You can add artificial mass to them to make it more stable if you would like. I haven't really found a use for it in some of these smaller ones. They tend to do really well on the ground. As far as like gravity area, they're a little bit easier, but in 0G, getting them to kind of stay on the track and not damage themselves can be a little bit of a challenge. So let's take it out one more time. Parking brake off, and there we go. So we have a functional transit system. So you don't want to use the parking brake. You just kind of want to back off just a little bit, make sure that it slows down so that it doesn't throw itself off the track. Very, very delicate design. I'm actually a little bit surprised that they managed to get this working so well in Sparks of the Future. But you can see now we're not taking any damage anymore. So again, it's just a matter of being delicate with it, moving back and forth, testing it out. Did I miss a... And there's one other thing. If you're running into problems where your tram continues to be damaged no matter what you do, check the track, because sometimes the track can get damaged, and especially if you start seeing it in specific locations. So I'll just kind of run down the track here with my welder. There was a piece. See, so those little numbers, those percentages matter for the health of your tram. So like that would have damaged the tram. So like I said, a little bit difficult to manage, but it does work. And this is pretty much the Sparks of the Future design. So one last thing I want to show you before we go is when I was doing the setup. So when we talked about the inverse propulsion, so right now, so I picked the two tires here. This is why I wanted you to put them on each side. So you put one side and then you come over to the other and you put the other side on there. The reason for it is because you can select two tires and inverse propulsion. So at the moment, when I push the W key on the keyboard, the tram advances forward. If I was to change this and make the other two inverted, pushing the W key makes the tram go backwards. And so, again, it's a little bit of thing that you kind of got to work with and decide how you want things to be, depending on what direction your tram is going. but I prefer my W key to make my tram go forward instead of backwards. So, and that, my friends, is going to be it. Again, thanks Keen Software for designing the tram system in Sparks of the Future. That's exactly what this is. So play around with it. I'd love to see some of your builds and some of your designs, some of the crazy things that you come up with. Leave comments in the comments section below to builds and things that you come up with that are based on this design. I would love to see them. Thanks everybody for hanging out with me for this brief tutorial. I'm Commander Exodus. Take care, fly safe, and I will see you out there.